Now, Ben, your office is physically in Dallas, but you seem to be in wherever the courtroom is across the nation.
Yeah, we travel around. I think we're in 27 states now, and just try the cases wherever they are.
Yeah, but you're a California guy. But how often are you actually home though these days? How does it work for you?
Man, it's pretty brutal. I think this year I've been home for maybe 2 weeks so far this year. We just had back-to-back trials.
For 2 weeks you've been home this year?
Yeah, maybe total. Yeah.
So where have you been back to back to back?
We had a trial in Chicago for a couple months, and then we had 6-day break before we started another trial in Portland right after that. That was multiple months. And then we're starting another one in South Carolina on August 5th.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Hey. But what, like, so you...
The road warrior.
Yeah, and if everyone wants to see at least one of your trials are on CVN.
Yeah, the Portland one, CVN was there, so the whole thing's on CVN.
Yeah, because I was trying to get my last trial televised, but the defense lawyer cried so much that the judge wouldn't allow it. Whatever, I had one on. But if you go, a lot of viewers and listeners don't know, but there's an organization called CVN, C as in Charlie, B as in Victor. It is a network.
Courtroom View Network.
Courtroom View Network, subscription-based, where you can actually watch trials live or things that happened in the past.
Yeah, it's awesome. You can see like a lot of great trial lawyers around there.
But how did, because you do what's called toxic torts, is that how you would define it?
Yeah.
So just educate our listeners on kind of the stuff that you do, that you try.
Sure. We do mostly mesothelioma cases. So people have probably seen the commercials on TV late at night about mesothelioma. And that's a cancer of the lining of the lung that's caused by asbestos and nothing else. And so that's probably like 95% of the work that we do.
But these are, the asbestos, this stuff was supposed to be cleaned out like the 70s, the 60s, but been around since the 30s, 40s, 50s. How are these things still going on?
Yeah, the crazy thing about asbestos is it's in talc. And so for decades and decades and decades, women would get this very rare mesothelioma cancer, and they'd look and try to figure out how these women were being exposed to asbestos, and they couldn't find any. And so in 2017, they couldn't find any asbestos exposure for these women getting the disease. So in 2017, a court ordered Johnson & Johnson to turn over 2 million pages of documents for the first time that showed Johnson's baby powder had contained asbestos, and they knew it since 1958.
Wow.
So there's this explosion of information, and then it all made sense why tens of thousands of women.
But how long was this being hidden? This didn't come to light till 2017.
Yeah.
7 years ago.
Well, didn't they used to say that the women that they couldn't figure out where they got it, they thought maybe their husbands had brought it home from work on their work clothes and things like that?
Yeah, so for some of the women, they were able to figure out, oh, their husband worked in a shipyard and brought the asbestos home on his clothes, and they did the laundry, and that's how. But for a lot of the women, husband didn't work in a shipyard, wasn't a brake mechanic, didn't do construction. Nobody, parents, dad didn't do anything, and they were like, well, I guess women's bodies just fail. Wow. And so there was this whole body of sort of
junk science,
bought and paid for literature.
Junk science.
Yeah, that said women's bodies are just kind of like no good.
But they knew the whole time then. They must have known the whole time that it was.
The companies knew.
Companies knew.
Yeah. So there's in May 9th, 1958, Johnson & Johnson finds asbestos in the baby powder and conceals it for the next 70 years.
Wow.
And then and they keep testing and finding it over and over and over and over.
Is it naturally occurring just like in the mines or something?
Yeah, so asbestos and talc, they're just like rocks. They're minerals, but I just call them rocks. And under certain...
talking for juries, you see that?
Yeah, just rocks.
Just rocks.
And so rocks grow in the ground under certain conditions, and there's geologists that come. Under certain conditions, asbestos grows like veins in a talc mine. And so when they mine out the talc,
you can't get it out.
You can't get it out. When you mine it out and crush it up, you mine out some of the asbestos and crush it up in the talc.
That's nuts.
It's crazy.